Ciaran Kirk. Oops. There you go. Ciaran, are you about? So Ciaran Kirk is going to be giving a talk about conservation of protection of EU fisheries by the Irish Naval Service. So Ciaran, thanks for being here.
Good morning, Rick. Good morning, guys. Good morning, Rico. Can everybody hear me okay? If you can see in the background, you can just about see it's early morning here in Las Vegas, so I'm slightly croaky, it's slightly early, so but I'm glad to be here and as ever at the AGI events and speaking. So let me just share my screen. So share, and you guys can see everything that I'm seeing, so that's working okay. And I'll just start up my presentation. So, yes, morning I want to talk about the Irish Naval Service and the work they're doing for fisheries management in Ireland. So we've been a long-term supplier to the Irish Naval Service. This has been an ongoing project since 2002. But in the last 3 years, just before the start of COVID, the Navy came to us and wanted to replace our system and upgrade it. So just to give you the background to where this comes from is we have in Europe, you have the EU Common Fisheries Policy. So that sets the rules for managing European fishing fleets and for conserving fish stocks. It gives all European fishing fleets equal access to EU waters and fishing grounds and allows all fishermen to compete fairly. EU countries have taken action to ensure European fishing industry is sustainable and doesn't threaten the fish population size and productivity. So this is across Europe policy to make sure that we don't overfish, that we don't eradicate certain species by overfishing, and to also ensure a common approach that all fishing men and fisher people are able to have, get a proper living and not one country or one area exploits that. So to manage the fisheries data, the Commission maintains an EU fleet register with the necessary vessel information which it receives periodically from the member states. The EU fisheries management relies on the data collected, managed and supplied by the EU countries under the data collection framework. And the key principles for this data collection is accuracy, reliability and timeliness, avoidance of duplication through improved coordination, safe storage in database systems, improved availability of data, compliance with laws on personal data protection, and access for the European Commission, enabling them to check the availability and quality of the data and the methodology used to collect them. So with the Naval Service, the first project, the Learguard 1, was in 2002, and IMGS was selected by the Naval Service in partnership with Hewlett-Packard to deliver the fisheries protection system. The Naval Service was given the role by the Irish government to enforce fisheries protection in Irish waters. The fisheries protection system at that time consisted of an information system, a legal system, and a geographic system to analyse and display VMS or vessel positions for the fishing vessel data. Hewlett-Packard delivered the FIS and FLS using Oracle Forms and Oracle Database, and the system was used both onshore and offshore disconnected on the naval vessels. And at that time, we delivered the FGS to GIS using Hexagon or Intergraph GeoMedia objects on a client server, and the system went live in 2005. Roll on 2019, DXE, who were previously HP, were contracted by the Naval Service to replace the legacy system. The Naval Service wanted to move to a modern web-based architecture to replace the legacy Oracle Forms with Hexagon M.App Enterprise, to replace the Oracle databases with SQL Server, and they no longer needed the legal system, and the FGS was going to be replaced with a modern mapping client, which was M.App Enterprise. So how did this system work? Well, in the Defence Forces data centre in Dublin, Mackay, the central database was hosted in the SQL Server. That was then accessed by the Fishery Monitoring Centre in Cork and Halbolin in the naval base. It was also then accessed offline by the patrol vessels at sea. It was also accessed by the Air Corps, who actually flew missions to do, visual inspections from the sky, by the Sea Fisheries Protection Agency, and then most importantly, there was the ability for the fishing vessels to send their positions every hour up to the database, so that then that could be visualized on the system. And then all this information was then shared with the EU. So it was the Irish agency's job to pass the positions of the Irish vessels, wherever they are in EU waters, back to the EU and other states, so that they can track, monitor, and exchange data between each other. So this is a real-time system, taking real information and passing it back amongst countries and states across Europe. So just to show you then a demonstration of a system with some sample data, I have here the application. So if I go up into our enterprise apps, we have Map Enterprise. So in Map Enterprise, the Navy have 4 different applications. They have one application, which is the alarms and messaging app. So in it, the Navy are able to configure some really advanced queries to use this live data to figure out, is there a vessel in the wrong area? You know, is somebody fishing in a part of the Irish waters where they shouldn't be? Or are they going too fast? Or have they came from an area where they shouldn't have been? So we really advanced queries. They also then have what's called the Vessel Viewer application, which allows both the analysts in the naval base and at sea to view all the current positions of all the vessels and to see what direction they're going in, what nationality they are, and also then to provide information back and forth from them vessels. We also, as these days everybody does, we provided a BI application, both to view historic data, so that the analysts in the Navy and it can actually look back on old information, because we've got millions and millions of position data, and also to look at the live information, to be able to see the live records. So if I jump into my app here, you can see we have the map of Ireland. You can see we have all the vessels here. And what you can see is the first thing is they've got colours. Well, the colour denotes what nationality the vessel is. The arrow pointing tells the naval officer which way the vessel is actually sailing, so that they can know where they are going. We also provide the ability for the users and the analysts to run what's called historic tracks, so that they can actually see not only where the vessel is currently going to, but also where they came from, and can see that information. So again, if the Navy need to inspect that vessel, which they do, they will actually board the vessel. The naval vessel will intercept them if they think they're up to no good, or if they think they need to check what they're doing, and then inspect the vessel and get on board and see what happens. And naturally, the Navy also have a security remit, which is their primary remit. So again, if they also, when they go and board these vessels, see something that they don't like from a security point of view, then they can also act as well. So a big thing is the information coming back live from the VMS feed. So being able to see this data, but again, by default, they're only getting the position points every hour. They can actually change how often they want this information to come in. So we've got what's called a polling window or a polling request. So in the polling request, you can actually, in these workflows, add a search by a vessel, pick a vessel, and then request that they send you polls every few minutes, every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes, if you're very interested in what that vessel is actually able to do. And we also have the ability, because these polling requests cost money, because this is all satellite communications with information being sent from the fishing vessel back to the base, it costs money. So actually, in the Navy, the standard user has to get approval from the officer if they want to do a polling request, and if they want to be able to get more information from the record. Once they do the polling requests, they're then able to look at the polling monitor window and see which vessels are actually polling, when they last they sent in the poll, which vessels were declined by the managers, who wasn't allowed to send them in, were they able to give them, and how they were able to use this information and this live data. And then they also then have the ability to analyze and click on the vessels and see what's coming in. So you can see, we can see a vessel, we can click on it, we can add a historic track, We can modify the vessel. They can also do spatial queries, like looking for the shortest path to the baseline, so they know where the vessels are. They also have the ability to turn on AIS data. So again, if they want to see the other kind of position information, so this is not necessarily a fishing vessel, but you could have other boats in the area. And again, somebody could be not having their fishing transponder turned on, but are there with their AIS, which is used to guide ships into port. So that also gives them some analysis that they can see, well, hold on, we can see somebody with an AIS position, but they're not showing VMS, but they're in fishing waters. Why are they doing that? This kind of ask these kind of questions. So we've built all these workflows, all these forms were built with the application, all without using programming, but using Map Enterprise to create these forms and applications. And this was a year project, over a year of development to replace the system and build this fully integrated application. We also have the BI client. So in this, the users are able to see all the vessels across the world. They can see which fish vessels are fishing, which ones are trawling, which ones are cruising. So I can just going to go, okay, just show me the fishing vessels. I can pick a nationality, so I could say, show me only Irish vessels, and the maps will refresh, and you can see the clutter maps on the screen. And this is a very useful tool for the Navy, so that they can then drill down, because it's the Navy have 8 vessels, and it's a very big area, a very big, large amount of water that they have to be able to manage and to support and to keep an eye on. So being able to have that, being able to use the analytics to figure out these things is really important, because they've got such scarce resources. So they have to be able to drill down into the information, see who and where they need to go, and then make decisions, and then record and configure that information. And the final application that they have, which is I think it's probably their most important application, is their alarm system. So in the alarm system, they can configure these live queries to be able to tell them and prompt the user when they have issues. So again, having these advanced configuration of queries, so that the warnings come on screen to tell them, okay, there is somebody in an area that they shouldn't be in, and that they can see down here on the map, this vessel has a circle around it. So it's an alarm. It's in an alarm. So they then have an issue. So if I look at the alarms window, takes a second to fire up, they can then see what vessels are based on some advanced queries, which vessels are running, which vessels are coming up, and what they need to see. So oh yeah, sorry, that's that one. New window, sorry, wrong button. So with the window, they can then see all the alarms, see the information, and configure and create these queries. They can also configure and create messaging to send between each agency, and a lot of the data management is ensuring this data is being shared across the applications correctly. And I think I'm coming towards the end of my slot, and I don't want to overrun. So just to go back to finish this off. So the power of Map Enterprise has been that we were able to provide a single platform for replacing the legacy forms and GMedia solution. By using Map Studio Workflows managers to create the forms, we were able to drastically cut the development costs. And the Map Enterprise provides the ability to scale in the Naval Service and related agencies. So Map Enterprise provided a rapid development tool for spatial and non-spatial workflows. And also we are seeing that this is a cross-Europe solution. So we've been contacted by a number of agencies in other countries, and we're now looking at this modern platform, and it provides a great solution for organizations that need to do that. So if I go back to my layout, sorry, and stop sharing and back in here, I think I'm just about on time, Rico. I think.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Ciaran. It's actually certainly one of those things that the general public don't think about, that the Naval Service would have this kind of remit around fisheries conservation. We get to hear that kind of work is going on, and the use of mapping and GI for that. Thank you so much for that. Now, I know there